Hey, how you doing? Welcome to the Tarot Flow Show. The Tarot Flow Show, everybody, where synchronicity is the star, and I'm your host, Alison Pickering, and I am so glad today, as always, to bring in my fabulous and adorable co-host from Stockholm, Sweden, the fabulous Kefri Skarabus. Welcome, Kefri. I hope you're doing well today.
Thank you. Yeah, I am. I'm excellent as usual.
Excellent as usual. So
Yeah.
It is now, we've had a time change. So what time is it? It's like 9 something or other on an evening in Stockholm. I'm in Los Angeles, and our dear guest is in the South Bay area of Los Angeles. Let's see who we have here today. She is a chef and a patissière, or a pastry chef. She is has had restaurants and worked in hotels, and has been around the world in her pursuit of knowledge, because and now she has ended up as a walking encyclopedia of culinary history. She's brilliant. She loves her art form, and she's an artist across many media, including now watercolor and different things. I've bought one of her beautiful watercolor paintings, and we're going to see one of her beautiful things photographed behind her. This is the wonderful and adorable Annette Gallardo. Welcome, Annette Gallardo, to the Tarot Flow stage. Yay! How you doing?
Hola, hola.
Hola. How you doing?
I'm doing well.
I'm glad to hear it. I thank you for coming to join us on this crazy little endeavor that we have. You can see Kefri's already shuffling up. And then we can admire behind you. Is that a focaccia? That is so gorgeous. The colors are just compelling. Focaccia bread.
The basis of the art. The flowers you see are red onions. It's all edible vegetables. And it's just look like an art piece.
I remember John Lennon talking about how he really got a great appreciation for women after learning to bake bread, and they'd work so hard to bake the bread, and then it would be gone. And he's like, oh, and now we have to just do it all over again. Is that frustrating when people eat your works of art and it's gone like that, or is that the satisfaction?
No, because they're just amazed. They're amazed by it. I mean,
yeah, as they should be.
It doesn't bother me. It doesn't. Take a picture of it, then it lasts longer, like this. Yeah. So
we were visiting some friends, and he would always break out his phone, and he says the phone eats first, and he would click.
Is this?
Oh, this is Torsten. He's the husband of a friend of ours, Jens, from the tarot group, and he would take a picture of the food, and he would say the camera eats first, and then we would dive in. It was very sweet. Tell us a little bit about tarot. I know you have a kitchen tarot because you're a kitchen goddess. What else about tarot is intriguing to you?
Well, I've had different readings over the years. My sister read tarot. I went when she was an older teenager and into her young 20s. I do remember that. I love the artistic part of the cards and all the different symbols. There's so much symbolism, and it's like fascinating to just. You look at a card and you say, oh yeah. And then you look at it again. It's like, oh, look at that little lobster. Oh, look at that itty bitty tiny fish. There's all these little symbols, and you can look at it many times over and still find something new.
Exactly.
What they all mean, I don't know.
Yeah, and the meaning kind of shifts depending on context and depending on who's reading, and it's quite a fluid thing. But I am certainly glad that we have yet another wonderful guest, Kefri, who appreciates the art and the medium that is, because each deck is like its own little coffee table book. It's just a set of beautiful images, and they have their their framework in terms of imagery. With tarot, there's a framework. And then, of course, there's oracles, and that's the Wild West, because you don't have to have a framework with oracles. It's just your set of images and the meanings that are assigned to them. And then you kind of look at them and look up the book and stuff. Let's take a quick look at those majors that you were mentioning before, the symbols in the major arcana. And I'm going to come on over to our screen here, and let me go up and share this again. Thank you for your patience as I muddle through our situation here technologically. So we are taking a look and meeting you, Annette, and we're going to unpack a random focus card now. And after that, we'll do the reading. And here is the main character. in the tarot, this is the Fool. He's like the spirit without a body. And then he comes in and takes on a body. Could be a man, could be a woman, could be a child, could be trans, could be what, I mean, it's not about the physical is my point. This is the spirit, and he's going into another manifestation. And so the first row of the majors, we could say this is kind of what he comes into life with, or she comes into life with, what we all come into life with: a masculine and a feminine polarity, a couple of physical parents, some kind of teaching that lets us know how we're supposed to behave, for better, for worse. Then we encounter other people. We have relationships, friendships, make choices. And then we may move out of our original circumstances with that Chariot. And then this middle row is like the adulting. This is all the lessons that we have to go through. We have to figure out how to handle our passions. What do we do with all that energy? What do we do when we're alone? What do we do when we have to learn new things and we bump into the other people's stuff? How do we react with that Wheel of Fortune? In terms of the Justice card, what are the laws of the land, the laws of our own family? In the Hanged Man, sometimes we're just hung up and we can't move. This might be a period like that for you right now, Annette, where you just don't know what's next, and you're kind of subject to the timing of the outside world, and big changes with the Death card can come through our life. That's very seldom a physical death, and much more about transformations of consciousness or changes that you can't anticipate. You just have to respond. You have to respond and mix your own kind of cocktail and see how that comes out. And then the bottom row, we can see this is states of consciousness. States of consciousness, like soup. You could be real power driven or real work driven. Nothing but work, 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 and money, money, money on that Devil card. And then life will come in and say, there's more to this ivory tower than what's in your conceptions. The Star, well, who are we after all? The Moon, that's the little lobster you were talking about before. The Sun card is connecting to Source. That Moon is being very emotional. Sun, tapping into Source. It's carrying us now. The Judgment card, that's a big new beginning and awakening. And the World card is a portal. It's the ending. It's the beginning. That's that same Fool. All these are the same Fool, from where he started to where he ended up now at this triumphant place. The Magician has the 1 wand, the Fool has the 2 wands, and he's ready to kind of give it another go. So that's what we have in terms of the majors and the vocabulary of those majors. So Miss Annette, if you were to pick a number between 1 and 22, and now I'm going to shuffle up these that I have, what number appeals to you? And we're just going to unpack some symbols on one of those cards. 13, right down the middle here. Cycles of the Moon, 13. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and card 13. It's the Devil.
Oh.
This is the first time we've picked this card. And this is, yeah. And it's excellent. We're coming up on Halloween, and we have all these different symbols and stuff that we're working with lately. So let's take a look at the Devil card. What all is going on here? So such a culturally charged symbol, right? In terms of holistic impressions, let's start before we become the accountants and start itemizing all of the symbols on the screen here. Holistically, when I see this, for sure, everybody kind of goes, that's the first kind of holistic impression. Another holistic impression I could see in this card is that there's 2 people there and they look like those lovers, but now they have chains on their neck. What other impressions? Do you have any one-word impressions? Like some people say, oh, evil, or hard work, or what a drag. Anything come to mind for you when you look at this card, Annette, before we start going into all
trapped. They're chained. They're trapped there.
Trapped and chained. Exactly. And if you look at those chains, they could probably pick them up and take them off their neck. They're not that tight. And so another aspect of this card is that it's an illusion. That trap is an illusion. And another thing is humor, that the Devil can be a real heavy duty thing until you start laughing. And then you realize that it's just so ridiculous. It's like those masks of tragedy and comedy. It's funny, it's sad, it's so silly that we feel ourselves so trapped when in fact we are very free. But when we think we're trapped, let's look at these kind of symbols that are here. So
the live long and prosper thing.
Yeah, exactly. And Kefri can probably tell us some more depth about what that symbol means in that as well. But he's got that, and that's got some symbols. I think that may even have a Sagittarius symbol on the palm. I can't really see it. We can look at that later. He's got, look at the inverted pentagram on his forehead, pointing right at the third eye. So the idea that insight into the world is a part of this card. So you can see a lot about what the world is like by knowing what this card is like. It's a lot of work. That's Capricorn, the goat. It's Capricorn is that devilish sign, and he's on a half cube instead of a full cube. The Emperor sits on a full cube. He's got like the full view of things, but the devil is on a half cube. So it's only half of our reality that's represented here. Our little people there, the lovers who are free with an angel. It's an angel in the Lover's card, and now it's this Capricorn, goat, bat, devil figure. And they have cloven hoofs now. They have little horns, and then the woman has a tail. Her tail is saying that she's trapped because of her fertility to the world. The man is trapped because of his flame, his torch, his sexuality, or his passions to the world. So these are the things that kind of can tie us to the world in some ways. What are some other things, Kefri, that are in this crazy card?
The letter for this, the Hebrew letter for this is ayin, and that means an eye, and that is of course why that reversed pentagram is pointing to his third eye, and it's also the all-seeing eye. And it is also, if you look at the claws or the toes of what it is on the devil, it's actually 3 on each foot that we can see, and that is the mysterious number 33, that all Masons will know what it means. And 3 and 3 together is also 6. So there is a balance in this card as well, and it's very, very black, this card. And that is, of course, the planet Saturn that is connected to the star sign of Capricorn. And also, if we look at his wings, they are a bit silvery as well as his horns, and that takes us to the moon, actually. And I have been talking about this before, that our shadow that the moon is representing is actually connected to planet Saturn, because that is where we meet our higher lessons in life, so to speak, by looking at our shadow. And that teacher is actually Saturn, that tells us what we don't want to see or know, actually. So that is in here, actually. So it's a lot of things in here. And the similarities to this card and the Lover's card is also quite striking.
Why don't you show that Lover's card? It's interesting to look at how they're parallel.
Because it's the same setting, actually, but here we instead have the angel that is flying above the pairs here. So that is also here, and the devil is just sitting on his 1 point cube, so to speak. And if you look at him a bit more, you can see that if he moves, he will fall over, actually, because it is only in this position that he is able to hold his balance. And also this hand up here is also has to do with the balance, actually, because if he takes it down, he will fall. And also we see the same gesture as in the Magician card, with one hand raised and the other pointing downwards. And that is, of course, a conductor of higher energies also. So that is also there. And we have that also. That is a very mysterious sign, actually, for Hebrew people, I believe. And that is in here also. So we can say that we both have the devil and the divine energies in here, actually, and that this is the mystery of this card, and also alluding to this saying that the devil is in the details, but the right thing is actually that God is in the details. But we say that the devil is in the details, and that is also here because he has that holy sign in his hand. So there is a divine energy in this also. And that's quite interesting because there is a unity here if we look deep in this card, actually, because Saturn is a planet that is very important, is especially if you look in the tree of life where Saturn is situated. So it's a lot of enigmas here that you have to ponder and meditate over, I think. So it's an interesting card to do some meditation with, I believe.
And we are all here in the place of work, because the devil is work. You know, Capricorn is work. It's the shortest days of the year. It's the hard working time and all that kind of stuff. So anything else that you notice in terms of the symbols? I'm sure there's stuff that you've noticed that we haven't even touched on yet. Anything, Annette, that strikes your fancy in this card?
No, I think.
Or have we just beat it to death?
Well, he's holding, on the hand that's down, he's holding some kind of wand with fire.
Yeah, something. Exactly. Yeah. And so instead of the fire going up, he's putting the fire down. It's very.
He's lighting the guy's tail on fire.
Exactly.
There you go. Do this.
Exactly. And it's kind of like that thing. It's kind of like you get these notions, and it's like that. You know, it's like when you get that. Sometimes you get that sexual buzz, and you know where it came from now, and now you're like, oh yeah. It's so funny. So thank you for picking that card. Also, the thing about the devil is that you can make him kind of shrivel up and fall apart by just joking around with him. He seems so threatening, and yet humor is so powerful. And that idea of being bedeviled, you know, and devilish humor and all of the expressions that we have in our language to express this. So thank you for choosing that card. Thank you for making, giving us the opportunity, shall we say, to check out all these other images there. And we can see where the devil is kind of sitting down on the bottom left at that bottom row of sitting in number position 15 there.
Cake.
What's that?
Devil's food cake.
Devil's food cake, exactly. And isn't that the temptation card in your deck? Is the devil card? Is that chocolate cake? Is the temptation, and that kind of thing where we can't resist. You know, it's just so delicious. No matter how hard we try, it's like, oh, we can't say no. Let's take a look real quick at the minor arcana, because that's another aspect of what we're going to be working with here. And we're going to, looking left to right, we can see there's the Ace of Wands, which is a branch, a live branch with live leaves. That's the suit of fire. And this is that kind of, those are the ideas that we get, those notions that we get. It's like, what is that about? We get them, we receive these notions, but we don't know. We can't control them per se, and that's the ones. It's our values. It's what gives us passion. It's what gives us interest. It's what makes us different one from the other as humans, because we all have a different array of interests and things that make us passionate. The cups are the suit of emotions and of feelings and of care and of the emotional reality, and our feelings determine so much of our reality. And when you're going to be working with manifestation, as they say, the most important aspect of our lives to control is the emotional aspect, because that's the thing that really kind of gels the picture. It kind of gels things around our feelings, and so we get what we're feeling, and that's a hard lesson sometimes. Looking down below at the knights, let's just take a quick look at the knights as they progress as well. With the wands, that knight is real fired up with his passions. The Knight of Cups has a lot of care and quest in where as he moves forward in a more courtly kind of way. Going to the swords is the suit of air. So if we have an idea and we got to care about it, if that's ever going to come into reality, and you can see we're taking an idea from nothingness now towards reality. As it comes towards reality, we're probably going to have to make a plan, write a list, figure out the order that we're going to have to do it in. In a recipe, the order of operations is really important. In math, the order you do things is going to affect the outcome. And so that air sign, that knight, he's on a mission with his ideas, his plan that he has. He's got the plan. He wants to take it into action. And then finally, we're going to bake it up. Okay. Finally, we're going to have this thing be in the flesh, in the 3D, in the actual material realm. And that's got the 5-pointed star because we have 5 senses. We've got our taste and our smell and our touch, and we have our hearing and our sight. And then all these other faculties, the brains or the rational function. We have our heart with our Ace of Cups with the feeling function and that intuitional function. But the Ace of Pentacles is really representing the coming into the physical. Looking down at that knight, you can see that he's moving slow because when you're in the physical, you have to operate in time, and time takes a long time, and that can be kind of a drag. And so the medium of time and the element of physicality makes things require process in the physical realm. Let's take a look at the suits in there, 1 through 10, 1 through 5, 6 through 10 are wands here. And then the court cards, the page, the knight, the queen, and the king. We can look at all the fire symbols there. We can see the kind of maybe progressions of a creative idea or just ideas. Sometimes you think they're great, and sometimes you're like, if you had to carry and do all of your ideas, it would be a heavy load, right? Down on that 10. Looking at our cups, this is our feeling realm, emotions. And then our court cards are full of water signs, water symbols with lotuses and fish and mermaids and ships and stuff like that. Moving into the swords, which is about thought and intellect and planning. It gets pretty cold, pretty cutting. A lot of air symbols, clouds and birds and butterflies, wind in the court cards. And then finally, the pentacles with the earth, the realm of the physical, contracts, families, housing, jobs. And all those symbols of fertility with agriculture and animals, the flora and the fauna. So those are our symbols with the minor arcana, Annette. And then what we're going to do now is we're going to, if you don't have more questions, but maybe you have some questions, we're going to go into our reading, which is how we're going to then figure out how to, we're going to put these symbols into a symbolic array. And the symbolic array has the top middle here being what is the issue we're talking about, or what's the situation we're looking at. This is going to be you in the middle of what you're in the middle of. And then we're going to have a timeline on the bottom. And the timeline shows us what happened first, what happened next, what's going to happen after. Advice on the top is probably best to avoid this. And top right, better move to go that direction. And then at the end, we'll pick a 7th card to give us some additional perspective. So I don't know, you might have some questions at this point. You might be raring to go. You might be ready to jump out the window. I don't know. What seems appealing to you now? Do you have any questions or anything?
No, but I was thinking back to the knights and the cup thing. It was like the quest for the Holy Grail.
Oh, totally, 100%.
With the Grail, with the Holy Spirit coming down into the cup, and then the quest.
Oh yeah. See, and you say you don't know how to read tarot, and you just read 3 cards from your mind right now. Absolutely. 100%. So this is an ongoing little journey of hopefully delightful learnings and a nice conversation. So this is where I hand off Annette to Kefri, and he's going to walk us through loading up the cards into your reading. Are we ready?
We're ready.
We're ready. All right, here we go.
Thank you, Alison. And Annette, I am shuffling and you say stop where you want the stop to be.
You can stop.
There. And cutting, how many times do you want to cut the deck if you want to cut the deck?
3 times.
3 times, thank you. 1 and 2 and 3. There we go. And we start with the middle card in the top row, and that is the subject, and it is the Queen of Pentacles. And then we go in the bottom row to the left, and that is your past card, and it is the Knight of Swords. And we go in the middle position, bottom row, and that is your present card, and it's the Page of Pentacles. And then we go in the right position, and that is your future card, and it is the Nine of Wands. And then we go in the top row to the left, and that is your cautionary card, which is not advised to do. And that is the King of Swords. And then we go in the rightmost position in the top row, and that is your advice card. What is advised to do? And that is the Death card. And we wait with the 7th card for now.
Thank you, Kefri. Let's go ahead and put up that Queen of Pentacles.
Yeah.
So this is the card that's representing you and your situation now, Annette. And I can't think of a better card for a woman as creative and as involved in the world of culinary as you are, because the queen of the world of the flora and the fauna and the products of the earth is there, and she's so capable. And she is, and then that Capricorn, by the way, that Capricorn that we looked at, the Capricorn, the goat, which is the earth god, is all over her throne, as well as some angels as well. And so the idea of children and goats and fertility fertility in the sense of bounty and bountiful giving is, and that's really, and there's a sense of wistfulness in this card as well around that issue. So we could take that, but there's also the sense of endlessness in terms of that the earth is always giving. And you can see the little beautiful poppy flowers that are here. There's the rabbit that is there. There is, there's water. There's a bower of flowers. And so there's the idea that there's always abundance with this queen. There's always a sense of just the idea of bounty. It comes to mind that there's an earthiness and generosity about her that is constant. And so that's a beautiful representation of someone who is so versed at taking things that we feel are very earthy and ordinary and making something very artistic and beautiful in them. And so that idea of taking the products of the earth and thinking, what can I do with these? And bringing your creativity to it, that is a very beautiful quality. Looking behind her, you can see that there's all these pears and apples and fruit on the throne behind her, in addition to just lots of lushness. There's just a lushness about this character here. Let's look at the timeline, because the timeline is full of an energy of urgency. So prior to the first in this timeline, and I don't know, to be honest, and Kefri, maybe you have a better sense of this, but I have a sense that this timeline is kind of anchored in the past, and so the third one is kind of where you're at right now. But further in the past is your drive, your bringing your message to the world. I know you had a culinary school. I know that that was ill-fated with COVID, and that's, I don't know too much about your life, Annette. I'm like summing, these two sentences have summed up the sum total, you know. But you had brought your expertise and your message and your, you know, thing to the world, and then very abruptly it had to stop. You know, you weren't able to bring people into your beautiful environment anymore, and so it required a new plan. So it's like this thing came into your life so quickly. Maybe that was the decision to pivot and teach, but it was the idea that you had to do something, because you had to do something, and you did something, and it covered the bases, and it covered the territory, and it got you from point A to point B. But now you are in a place, and let's look at that page, because you did get from point A to point B. You managed yourself from point A to point B. And now you're in a place where you're standing still and you're trying to figure out what's going to be next, because it's time for a new phase. The pages are a new beginning. You have that 1 through 10 in terms of 1 through 10. And I could probably say that you went through 1 through 10 in your professional career, being that you have been in pretty much probably every aspect of the culinary trades in your life experience. And you've been through that 1 through 10, I'm going to imagine. And then at this point now, in this middle part of the trajectory that we're looking at, you are kind of figure out, okay, what now? What can I do with my gifts, with my ideas, with my creative power? What seed can I plant now to put in the ground? And what direction am I going to take? And what is going to be my earthly endeavor at this point? And let's look at that 9, please, because in examining that, it's the examination that an experienced person does. And I think that that's kind of where things are at right now, where you are standing, you have survived, you have quite a lot to look back on and be proud of in terms of what you have conquered, what your accomplishments are. You lean on them because they're a source of comfort to you, and they are a source of pride, as they well should be. And yet you're kind of looking to see what's coming, because what's coming is not clear at this point, but you're a bit on guard and you're prepared. So on guard and prepared is probably a good description for where you're at right now. Let's take a look. On guard, prepared, strong, experienced, alive, stories to tell, a veteran, all these kinds of things that, a wounded warrior, you know, all these kinds of things that are to be proud of. And you know how people walk around, thank you for your service. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your service. I want to say to you, thank you for your service, because you worked hard, you know, and you've done a lot, and you can be proud of a lot. And it's probably difficult at this phase to be at a pause, because you are looking at that Knight of Swords. Your past was always really fast paced. So looking back at that Knight of Swords, as you look to your past, you were just galloping along, you know, and you probably look back and think, wow, God, what a whirlwind all that was. You've been around the world. You've traveled. You've worked in different countries. You've had you've done a lot of different things. A little bit I know about your life says that there's a lot that you can look back on proudly, even as you contemplate what's next at this point in time. So let's look at that Queen of Pentacles again, please, Kefri. As you sit now in your comfortable, cozy place, and you're looking at that coin just like that page is looking at the coin. So you have gotten to a certain level of accomplishment as the queen, and now you're kind of in that beginner phase again as a page, which is hard, you know, because when you're an accomplished person, being a beginner again can be humbling, and yet it's a learning place, and you're a wonderful student and an interested, passionate person who likes to learn and enjoys the things that she's learning, it seems to me. So looking at the King of Swords, this is our advice. Kefri, let's look at that King of Swords. This is our advice to avoid. It's not time yet to judge and make a decision. It's not time yet to conclude or decide. I just want to, this is the decision maker, and he's a mature decision maker. And I just want to say that there's more to learn. There's more to be known. There's more to come. There's more information. You're not yet quite in a position to bring down the hammer in terms of saying this is it. So just know that there's more to be had, and avoid any harsh conclusions about what all this situation currently means. Just let it be weird without having to judge it and shape it and call it anything at the moment. I'm going to say, leave it. Let's go to that death card, please, Kefri. I want to say, Annette, to leave it in flux for the moment. Don't land on a particular idea of how it is, because it's in motion right now. It's in transition. What's happening right now, this, whatever this thing is in your life, hasn't quite finished moving across you, so to speak. And your best approach right now is as this child is, which is just to observe it, note your feelings, note the details, note everything, not just the negative, also note the positive. Because just notice this king. So now we're going to unpack this card a little bit. With the king who's laying out on the ground, all of his power, he could not resist this. So it's not like you could have changed this. Nothing in you. It's not about you. This isn't because of your shortcomings in any way, this situation. It's just outside of you, this weird that's moving through your life, so to speak. It's not happening to you. It's happening for you. It's going to be okay. But you just recognize that this is a powerful situation of limitation that's moving through your life right now. And as much as you can learn and be at peace and be open and innocent through it is going to be helpful for you. The Pope, he's trying to negotiate. That's not going to work. He's going to get knocked down. The Strength lady, she's like, oh, I can't even look at it. But the baby's like, I can look at it. I can learn from this. This is interesting. He doesn't really have any, like the Scientologist would say, he doesn't have a lot of conditions on it. He's just observing it, this child, or she is. The Moon card has those two pillars in the background. We can see these two pillars with a rising sun back there. We can see that the vitality of this, that skeleton, the feather on his cap is really not very vital at the moment. So if the wind is out of your sails right now, it would be understandable, because this is not the most encouraging of circumstances, but it's not over. It's just a period of time of weird change. So as much as you can be like the most Pollyanna student of, well, this is interesting, this is fascinating, and then just be as neutral as possible. I don't know if you journal, but it might be useful to journal what all the benefits are that this weird period of time has brought you. Even though there's other things that you might want out of this period of time, what are some of the good things that have come out of this? Because they are also part of your inventory at this point. It's not only the bank account, which is going to be a lot less than it was because you've had to hang on and just make do and make it happen, and you haven't had money coming in from the work source and whatever the case may be. That's another little bit that I know. But that's only one facet of how this change is affecting your life. There's other things that it's giving you. It's giving you time. It's giving you a certain freedom. It's giving you an opportunity to contemplate. And it's giving you about 9,000 other things that you know that I don't know, of ways that this has affected your life in a neutral way, in a positive way. And if you want to list down the negatives as well, just make sure that it's like a 3-column, or it's at least 2 columns where there's not only bad going on, so that you can begin to itemize and inventory all the freshness that has come into your life, the change in requirements. So now what used to be required of you is no longer required of you. Is that, and how does that benefit you perhaps? So there's other ways to look at this period of time than as a killer. There might be other ways to look at this as a time of pruning and refreshment, or of shock and awe and rebirth. It's any number of things that it could be looked at. And we have another card coming. I'm going to stop talking at this point, but just to say that I hope that you will look at this like the small child does, and just be as neutral as possible to this period of time, even though it's difficult. See if you can, like an athlete, say, okay, how has this trained me? What has this difficulty strengthened in me? What do I know now that I didn't know before? I didn't think I could survive this long, and look at me, I'm still alive, you know? And so maybe there's things that have defied your belief structure that this has allowed you to see. I don't know. I'm going to stop talking now, like I said, and fulfill that promise. Thank you, Kefri. Thank you, Annette. You might have questions. There's things you want to say now, Annette, or maybe you just want to listen to Kefri. Let us know.
Kefri, you're on.
Kefri, you're muted, my dear.
Thank you. Sorry. I will go more specific in this, because I think that this card, as you have been already into, Alison, is showing a change to find a new market, actually, because you need to do some changes of how you present your product. And I think that you need a new market for your product and your knowledge, actually. And
would you mind showing us, Kefri, the card you're talking to, or you're speaking about?
I'm talking about several cards here, but this is the main card, and this card is about taking knowing all the resources and really use all the resources. And that little rabbit there has to do with fertility, and that to me is like it's a fertility in this when you start to develop this idea, actually. And I think that this is a market that you can look at how to make good meals and designed meals with scarce resources, actually. I think that is a market that would be very in now after the pandemic situation also. And I think the death card here, because the death card is talking about change, actually. And I think that this is a sort of a change you can do and find a new market. And I think it will be a new foundation, actually, because this card is about a foundation. And I also get some hints here that it could also be not really survival courses, but more of how can we use what is out in the nature to enlarge our cuisine or something, because it's there and it's free and so on. And that is what I am seeing here. And this Page of Pentacles is also this having small resources, making something out of it. And I don't necessarily see that connected to you in your situation. I see it more connected to this idea of a new concept, actually. And also the King of Swords here as the cautionary card. I think, and Alison has been into this already, don't be so disciplined in this. Be free and just ponder what you could do with this idea, actually, and how the new market can look. And there is also something in this card that is a bit deep, because he is pointing his sword against the spot in the tree of life that is the Sephira of Bina, and that is a feminine Sephira, and this is a cautionary card. So I think that your new market will also appeal to men, actually, and that wants to use what is at hand to do a good meal, actually. And that could also be a connection to this foundation with the nature, actually. And before, I have been thinking that, as Alison also was talking about this Knight of Swords, that you have had a lot of flow in your businesses and in your way of doing things, and now it has stopped. But there is a reason for that also, because, as Alison already have been saying, you can ponder now what you should do and how the change should look, actually. And also the death card, the symbol for the death card is a fish, actually, and that is connected to Christianity, also the symbol of Christianity, as we know. And that is also connected to your spiritual sense, I think, that you will be protected, and this will be a good thing when you start it. And when you start it and makes the change to your or original concept, so to speak, things will be opening up, actually, and you will see how things are being more enlarged and growing more than you thought they would, actually. And that will also make the discipline come into your work again, actually, without you seeing it. But you don't have to concentrate on that now. Now you can be free and experiment with what you can do with a new concept. And I think this concept has to do with scarcity, and it has to do with nature, and it could also have to do with a customer group that is men, actually. And the seventh card here is appealing to this also, because the seventh card is the Five of Wands, and that is about building. And I think you could also create groups of people that can discuss what they can do with those ingredients you have found to build something, because you can see that those people here are trying to build something. Probably it's a pentagram, as this card is a 5 also. And I think small groups, and also I got some crazy idea that you could visit somebody and have a group there, and you can look at what they have in their refrigerator, and you can use it, and you can make a good meal about it, and probably go out in the garden or the woods to find something also that makes it really appealing. And this, I believe, is a new concept, or a concept that hasn't been used for some time, actually. And I think it will be in again in the situation now after the pandemic, and also the economic situation for people and so on. So I think this is the concept, and this is very high up in those cards, I should say. So they are very open, and they are very talkative, and I can't see any more depth in them. They just want to scream this message, actually. So I think I'll stop there. Thank you.
That's very cool. Actually, I had a similar idea as you were talking, Kefri, to the idea of maybe it's like a show where Annette comes over, and it's like you look in the fridge and it's like, okay, what do we got? And what can we make? You know, it's like what, and then when you were talking about groups of people, kind of like a potluck or like stone soup, it's like, you know, everybody brings in, I got a carrot.
Yeah,
I got some celery, you know, and then you look in what's in the fridge, and or everybody, it's just a potluck, and everybody arrives, and then you're going to make some gorgeous thing out of these crazy ingredients with your expertise, with creativity, with joy, with the love of food and what you bring. So you bring the ability to kind of show everybody. Anyway, I stone soup, it's you know, call Annette, you know, what would Annette do? And something like that in terms of really bringing together that culinary skills are about making it happen and bringing joy. And alchemy, you know, you're taking a little tiny bit of stuff that is not too appealing on its own and making something gorgeous and appealing and beautiful and nourishing out of it, which is very alchemical. And so, and that's a beautiful thing. And then so many people don't know how to cook. You know, we have all been so spoiled. And I just I'm a pretty good cook, but I don't like it, you know, because I'm lazy about it. But when I get into it, I like it. So it's really kind of a question of conquering that inertia, and then economically, we're all getting pushed to do that right now. So anyway, it's kind of cool. I could see this very easily as some kind of show or something, but I don't know how to sell a show. But I could see it selling, and I could also see it as a little fun kind of business concept. It's kind of like a meetup with your friends. Then it's a lot cheaper than all going out together when you all just show up with your groceries. And but how does that become a business? We don't know. We're going to figure that out, something along those lines. But this is all about brainstorming. And that 5 card is really about coming together with good intentions. They're not killing each other. They're just sparring. And sparring is fighting with the intention of everybody getting better at it. And so we're all going to come together and figure this out in such a way. Maybe you have some other people who are in a similar state, and you could all be a team that goes around or something like that. You know, there's a team of people to whip people into shape, or a pair of people, or a trio of people. I don't know, something along those lines. But the idea that we're going out to conquer these small problems that are big problems in people's lives, and it makes them happy to solve it, you know, and it's solving the world's problems one meal at a time, or something along the lines, something like that. And or solving our, you know, addressing our loneliness one meal at a time, something, I don't know, something along these lines that's fun with camaraderie and skills is an interesting direction. In any case, that's what this is talking about. And the fact that Kefri and I both had the idea of you showing up at somebody's house and looking in the fridge to scope out what's available and what could be done, and then look in the fridge and let's take a walk, maybe is something that it could be a format. What's that?
Foraging,
exactly. And so it's nice to see you smiling. What comes to mind as you see some of these cards?
Well, I've always told students of mine, I said, cooking is alchemy. And they look at me and I go, you're taking nothing, what you would think is nothing, is flour, sugar, just some dry things, and making that focaccia, making a bread, making a soup, just with different things. It's total alchemy. It's magic. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, it's very and for most people, they're afraid of cooking. They're freaked out. It's going to come out right. I don't know what I'm doing. And I always tell them, I'm here to give you culinary courage.
Culinary courage. There we go.
I've been saying that for years, culinary courage.
That's a great slogan.
I mean, I don't know how I taught for 20 years, and people, I'm talking about the adults, they come in all panicking, you know,
well, you know, everybody's a critic now. You know, we have the opportunity to see 47 different channels of TV, and we all feel entitled to say, it's just, it means, you know, and we're all a critic, but nobody can cook it. And so it does take some courage to subject yourself now to all of our refined palates.
Yeah, and it actually is, well, I make it so easy. I mean, because I can do that, because I can. So I think this is a great idea. It's just the marketing part and getting the people to do it without them just showing up and getting drunk, which is an issue I've had before, you know. So, Interesting. But I like the part that if
you only break out the wine after the meal is served.
It's not that easy to control when you're in somebody else's home. Trust me. But it is very difficult because the first thing they're just pouring the booze. But I like the idea that they have to have some responsibility in it. You know, as opposed to me just showing up with everything. Like, if they have some responsibility of bringing something, anything, whatever it is. Oh, I have these wilted tomatoes in my fridge, and I don't know what to do with them. Should I just throw them away? I'm like, no.
Exactly.
No.
That's what I literally see you walking in and opening up the fridge and saying, okay, what are we doing here? You know, and they're like, oh, sorry. And you're like, this is brilliant. And, or everybody shows up the door, like Stone Soup was like, whatever they're like,
whatever it is,
the junk they had in their fridge. You know, everybody does a refrigerator clean out, and
something in the rotter. Well, I mean the crisper.
In the crisper, exactly. What's not so crisp in your crisper? Let's do something with it. Yeah. Anyway,
I have a friend who calls it the rotter because everything's rotting in
there. The rotter. So you could do these on Eventbrite. You could do it as a show. It could be all kinds of stuff. So I would say forget about the how and just start identifying what could be fun to do. And then the how might start figuring itself out if the idea.
You just start telling people, this is what I do.
Exactly.
Even though I haven't done it yet.
Exactly.
Just got to figure out how do I. I'm still gonna have to charge for that, but.
Right, but it's interesting. I'm doing this tiny challenge thing right now. There might be a context for it as well. Anyway, I think there's interesting possibilities in the impossible situation. So we can't have dinner because there's no food in the house, you know, but there is food in the house, you know, and we could, and how might we do that, or something like that. Because your skills are not only fine dining, your skills are about life. These are life skills. Life skills with Annette, you know. Anyway, I'm hopeful, and I encourage you to do that inventorying exercise of seeing what's right about your current situation in terms of how it opens things up for you, how it opens things up in terms of in your life you might have been highly accomplished, but the work schedule that's required of people in culinary is pretty daunting. So I wonder if this period of time has been a well-deserved vacation and a creative incubator for you. If the stress of it could be removed, could the beauty of it be appreciated? If you could remove the fear factor around the money and just look at the time factor around the expansion of what you've been able to relax into a little bit, there might be more good there than bad, and in that way create a more hopeful horizon as you look forward, because you have so much in your bag of tricks.
Yes.
And so much to share. And such a nice personality and smile and energy and everything. It's very delightful to be around you. And all of when I lurk around your Facebook kind of stuff, everybody has such happy memories of their interactions with you. And so that's only something to look forward to again in whatever your next iteration is going to be.
Yeah.
And they miss you.
They do.
Yeah. And you miss them because it's nice to be around.
Oh, big time.
Yeah.
Big time. It was my stage. It was
exactly. So that's interesting.
It was my stage, was my place to perform, to interact with people, to find fun ways to give them information rather than this, do this, you have to do that, you know.
Yeah, exactly. So how could you recapture? So the how in this case is like posing to the universe. How can you recapture that joy and that sharing, that performance kind of quality that in a way now, you know, how can you share it? Perhaps not so much in a storefront, but sans storefront, what might you be able to do to show off your wonderful talents and to share your joy with people? Sharing the joy with Annette, you know, it's culinary courage. All of these things are really, so I encourage you to start just writing that stuff down and just saying, what would be fun? What would be fun? What would be fun? Forget the money factor. what would be fun to do? What would you do if it just said, say, hey, we're going to throw a party, we're going to do such and such. You're like, oh, I want to do that. What would you do even so?
And then have somebody, not me, film it and put it up on YouTube.
Yeah, exactly. Somebody who wants to be a videographer but doesn't have a clue of what to video.
Because I have no clue.
Right. And so look what a wonderful partnership something like that would be.
Right.
Yeah. And then they probably don't know how to cook, and so they're learning even as they go.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe some of these are your former students in Redondo.
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah. There's mad skills in kids in that department.
Well, I do have a handle. I don't think you know this handle. It's a Mad Kitchen Scientist.
I saw that in your email. I think it's brilliant.
Okay, yeah, Mad Kitchen Scientist. Yeah, but I just have Mad Kitchen Science as the email, but I'm the Mad Kitchen Scientist, and that's where the alchemy came.
Absolutely.
And the courage came.
Oh, 100%. Alchemy, alchemy with a net. Kitchen alchemy with a net.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. So there's all kinds of interesting things that could form out of this. So the energy of these people banging their sticks around and it's kind of, it's sparring. It's kind of like puppies do, rolling around and wrastling. So these people are wrestling. They're not fighting. They're just trying to figure it out. Yeah. But there's a different tone in this 5 than there is in that 9. And that 9 has that wounded quality to it. So if you can,
it's painful to look at that, actually.
Yeah, because that's where you're at these days, and you're still standing, but it's also good to see yourself as a more energized participant than the one lone stander at the end of it all. So you're not the only one in the position, and everybody could have maybe a good time figuring this out. And so, and figuring it out and helping each other. Everybody helping each other is a good thing too, because it's a lot less lonely that way. And it's more fun to hear each other's ideas. And even if, let's say somebody says, oh, we could make a nice, focaccia out of it. We could make a nice bruschetta out of this. You're like, no, it's going to be a much better soup or whatever. Or we could do both, or we could, and everybody's going to, maybe part of this is everybody throwing about what could we do? What's going to make us all the happiest? Do we all want soup? Do we all want a salad? What do we feel like, or do we want to break this up into some giant super bread because we've got a nice hunk of butter here and that would be delicious dipped, and let's melt the butter and dip the bread in it or whatever, who knows. You'll all figure it out together, kind of thing. And it'll all be different depending on what the collective decides, perhaps. Maybe it's like, we don't know what we're cooking until we get together.
Right. Oh yeah, no, that would be the whole thing, is nobody knows.
Yeah.
Secret.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's the whole thing. Nobody knows what we're doing.
Right.
Because if they knew, they would start planning.
Oh, exactly. Which is both of those swords. And the planning is in the past. All that arduous menu planning, shopping, inventorying, all the perishables, all the gambling on what you can spend on, what you have to save on, all that shit's in your past. Now it's going to be like, what's available, what's around.
Right.
Something like that. So you can eliminate a lot of the stress of what's going to rot by that's not the factor. We're not planning to do a fillet. We don't have to do a fillet. We're going to see what's left over. We might just be boiling the bone.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah. So I'm excited for you. And we didn't even talk about your gorgeous artistic talent, which could also be in the mix as well.
Yeah.
Because Annette's a wonderful painter.
And I just started doing that. Like,
exactly. I bought
that picture.
I'm like,
that's the first thing I did.
It's so beautiful. I got to show you this thing. Hang on.
I don't know. I just said I want to get a brush and I want to paint, and I saw some things online and I said, oh, a vase of flowers. I'll never be able to do that. And well,
it was just beautiful.
It's
her first. Isn't that gorgeous?
Wonderful. Yeah. That's gorgeous. Oh.
The thing that I was, once I did the flowers, I was trying to figure out how to do a clear vase. And I did.
It's just beautiful. Yeah. I'm thrilled to have it. I look forward to having it framed. And I'm so glad that you sold it to me, because I think you should have kept it for yourself. But I'll give it back to you when you have your museum exhibit. I will give it back to you for your.
I've just kind of stopped doing the painting, and I'm doing this crazy weird notebook things. But
those are fun. I like those too.
Yeah.
So you're
cards.
Yeah.
And all the card stuff.
So you're an artist of many media.
Yeah,
is what you are. And the medium has been food for the longest time, right? And people.
Yeah.
Food and people. And now the visuals, the flavors, the sights, the sounds, the colors.
Yeah. All the senses. You know, you cook with all your senses. A lot of people don't realize that.
Yeah. It also shows how beautiful you are, Annette.
But touch and hearing is another sense you use in cooking. People don't know that. Auditory. Because you got to know if it's burning and you see it, it's too late. If it's burning and you smell it, it's too late. But if you hear it sizzling too high, you know it's time to turn it down. If you don't hear anything, it's time to turn it up. So that's the first thing, the first sense that you use actually in cooking. So.
Do you have a particular, do you lead with a particular sense? Are you like more like a taste forward, or a smell forward, or hearing forward, or a visual forward person?
Well, I have a very acute sense of smell and a very acute sense of taste. So I can tell you exactly what's in something, you know? So those senses are really, really high for me. Touch is another one. I can just touch it. I can touch the meat and tell you if it's done. I can touch the bread and tell you if it's done. So I'm very sense-oriented, very highly sense-oriented. My sight is not so good anymore. I never wore glasses until 2 years ago. So I know.
But you have, but all those other senses are really intact. And what I can tell you is intact, Annette, is your beauty and your inner beauty, as it's showing with all these gorgeous things that you create. What's behind you, that the focaccia that has long since been enjoyed, but we're still enjoying it to look at it behind you. And then the beautiful painting you've created, these ideas that you're coming up with, are all just showing what a gorgeous heart you have and what a beautiful woman you are. And so I just want to say thank you for joining us. It's yet another wonderful guest, and another Laurel Canyon child.
Yes.
And I thank you for joining us. What other things might we take a look at as we look, let's say, at our image here? Oops, let's bring back our reading. Any final words as we take a look at our reading here with Annette? Just throw it on the wall, see what sticks, and try different things. You know, it's going to be a brainstorming
Throw
phase.
it in the pot, see what happens.
Yeah.
Here we go. All right. Well, I think it's time for fika.
I think it's time for fika.
Yeah.
It's fika time. That's right.
Maybe not for you in where you are. Where are you again?
I'm in Stockholm.
Stockholm. All right.
Yeah.
Well, for Allison and I, it's time.
It's time for fika. I'm never going to turn down a fika. Fika is my favorite these days. So thank you, Kefri Scarabus. Thank you, Annette Gallardo. Thank you, everybody. If you're still watching, you're wonderful. And come on down to AlisonPickering.com for more of this fun stuff. So I just want to say, Annette, I love you. I appreciate you being here. And I wish you much success in all your future endeavors. I hope you will invite me to your stone soup party. And I'll bring a carrot or something. And we'll see you soon. All right. Take care.
Thank you both. It was
wonderful. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.